Hey guys, welcome back. For those of you that are new here, my name is Kovi and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing an update on the philodendron melanochrysum propagations. Okay guys, so this is going to be a quick video. I'm just going to share with you guys an update on the propagations that I've taken from the philodendron melanochrysum, as well as I'm going to share with you guys what to expect when you are propagating these melanos, because there were some instances where I kind of like shut myself because I thought I was going to lose a lot of my propagations, but then given time, I just realized that this is how this plant actually propagates and sends out new shoots. I'm also going to share with you guys some of the issues that I've encountered. There wasn't a lot of issues, but there was just one or two that I'd like to share with you guys to help you guys get a higher success rate when you are propagating your melanos. Okay, so let's start with one of my favorite cuttings that I am loving. This was the cutting that I've taken. This was the original leaf. And as you can see, it's not the best looking leaf. It has a lot of holes and imperfections in it. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to cut my Melano and propagate it. And what you guys don't know is that after the video that I did on propagating the Melano, the original Melano, my main one, I ended up cutting that as well. I wasn't 100% happy with how it was growing, like, because there was a lot of the bottom stem that was bare, so I just ended up chopping it up. I wasn't 100% sure whether I wanted to do it, but at the same time, I wasn't 100% happy on how that plant was looking. So I just chopped it up and I said, I'll just grow some of these from scratch, and hopefully some of the new leaves will be much more better looking. And as you can see right here, this is one of the new leaves that have pushed out, and this leaf is transitioning into a green form. It does send out the leaf looking very golden, and I did post a picture of this on my Instagram page, and this leaf was absolutely bright gold when it first emerged. And if you guys want to check that out, I'll leave a link for my Instagram account in the description below, and you guys can check that out as well. But yeah, since then it sent out this leaf and it's sending out a new leaf. So that's super exciting, and this is planted in sphagnum moss. So it's doing quite well here. The sphagnum moss propagations are mainly in a tank that I hardly ever open, but we'll talk about that later on in this video. The second propagation that I'd like to show you guys is the one that is a base cutting, and this was just a cutting with nothing on it. It was just a bare stem, and check what it sent me out. I think this leaf kind of unfurled last week, I think it was. So it's absolutely gorgeous. Now this was a base cutting that I decided to put in perlite because it had a lot of roots on it, and I didn't want those roots to rot if I planted it in sphagnum moss. So I opted for the perlite, and as you can see, from being a bare stem, it sent out this new leaf. And I want to show you guys how it actually sends out the new shoot. It sends it out like that. So this was really exciting. This was a huge success. The other one that I had is this one right here, and I think I'm going to need this black card to show you. But yeah, this is a super long new stem that's developing, and it's kind of weird because this is one of the only cuttings that is sending out such a huge leaf. Like, this is super huge compared to all the other cuttings that I've taken. This is also planted in sphagnum moss that when it does dry up, then I just use a spray gun and a pressure sprayer, and then I just spray water on it until I see a few droplets coming at the bottom, and do the swaying motion and place it back in the tank. But with this specific tank, because there's a lot of the cuttings, the leaf cuttings that I've taken that have sent out a lot of shoots, I don't put the cap on to keep in the humidity anymore. Because once I've noticed that the leaves have sent out the new shoots, then I remove the top covering, and it seems to be doing absolutely fine from there. So yeah, that's one of them. There's another right here. As you can see, it's sending out a new leaf to unfold right there. And This is another one, but this is kind of like a leggy cutting. I did not know what to do with it, but you can see that it has a super long stem. And as you can see right there, it's got a lot of aerial roots. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to probably end up cutting it right there and putting that into either sphagnum or into perlite. And then what will happen eventually is that new shoots will start emerging from that point there. Okay, so that's one there. Let's show you guys a fail, because I'll also give you a tip on why this actually happened. It's this cutting right here. As you can see, it's looking really sad, but it was kind of my mess up and my fault because I did not act on it fast enough. I did notice what was happening, but I did not act on it fast enough. And what was happening is when melanos send out new shoots, now this was a new leaf that kind of just dried up eventually. It rotted and it dried up. And it does, if you pull it out, you can see that there is new roots that are developing right there. Now, the story that happened with this melano cutting is that it started sending out the new leaf. And with melanos, when they send out new leaves, there's a sheet that's over the new leaf, and what happens is that sheet dries up and eventually falls off and allows the new leaf to start unfurling. But with the tank being closed and being so high in humidity, that sheet did not dry up. It just started rotting, and I noticed it. I didn't act on it, and because I thought maybe it will just fall off, it wouldn't affect the new growth, but it did. It eventually, the rot spread to the new leaf and it just started drying up. It just died off. So my advice is when you have a new leaf, allow enough aeration in your propagation boxes for that sheet to dry up in order for it to fall off and let the new leaf emerge from it. So that was one of the problems that I kind of ran into. So as I said before, is that a lot of these propagations that already started sending out new leaves and new shoots, I don't keep cover on this canopy. But the ones with a lot of my node cuttings on it, that's the one that I keep the lid on a lot of the time. But I do remove the lid maybe once, twice a week just to allow some airflow and for it to dry out a bit. But other than that, it seems to be doing fine. There's one more thing, the scariest thing that I will explain at the end of the video. So stay tuned till the end of the video to find out what scared the shit out of me when it came to propagating these melanos. Let's show you guys these node cuttings. I'm not sure if you guys can see this, but can it focus? These are the node cuttings, and as you can see, the node cuttings are placed on sphagnum moss, on moist sphagnum moss, and it's already started to send me out a whole bunch of new roots, new shoots. I don't know where's my mind at today, but yeah, these are the new shoots, and it did send me the new roots first, and it had like a small protrusion, and then once the roots developed much more better, then it just started sending me out these really cool new shoots right there. So maybe if you look at it from this angle, it'll be better, but the white, it's not showing nicely. But yeah, I'm gonna try and tug out at this here. It is sending out, let's show you guys, I don't want to break the new growth from it, but yeah, if you guys can see, there's some new roots that are growing there, and right there, there's a new shoot that's coming out from there. So eventually what will happen is the roots will develop more and the shoot will get bigger and bigger and eventually just send out a new leaf, which is what I'm going to show you next, is how these new leaves kind of come out from these cuttings at times. Now this is a cutting that I've taken, and sometimes it sends out a super small leaf as its first leaf, and then as you can see, the second leaf that's going to be unfurling right there is going to be a bigger, better one that's going to be more golden. That's one of them, and I'll show you another. This is another one that sent out a super tiny leaf, but eventually what will happen is that the second leaf will be much bigger and will be much better. So that's that. Let's show you another fail. Okay, it's not actually a fail, but it was a plant that was growing kind of like this long leggy one right here. And what I did was I just cut off the one piece. I think it was this piece right here. Yeah, I think it was growing like that, or I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I just cut it off right there, and I took another node from there and I just stuck it into sphagnum moss. So what's happening, it's sending out new roots, and eventually, given time, it'll send out a new shoot coming out of this here as well. So that's kind of cool. Oh yeah, let me show you a node cutting that's actually sent out a new actual leaf. And this is a node cutting. Oh gosh, this is gonna fall. These are already rolling around. So let's try and pull this out. Okay, no, it's stuck in there. But I'm not sure if you guys can see. I'm gonna put it really close to the camera. But that's from a node cutting, as you can see right there. That's from a node, and it's already sending out quite a nice sized leaf. So I'm super excited about this here. So with my node cuttings, I've had them in a separate tank because I want to keep the tank closed majority of the time, just to hold in that moisture. And I've had both these propagation tanks placed under a propagation light. So if you guys want me to do a video on the propagation light that I'm using, then let me know in the comments below. It's a super cheap and affordable grow light. It's not one of those grow lights that's going to cost you thousands and thousands of rands. It's just going to be probably a few hundred, and then you set up to do your propagations. But yeah, that's kind of most of my propagations. Oh yeah, there's another one here. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of new shoots that are coming out right there from these nodes. This does need, I think, a sprinkle of water. Oh no, it's moist enough. So remember, you don't want your sphagnum moss to be soggy. You just want it to be moist. And once it dries out, let it dry out a bit, and then you can mist it with water again, and it should be fine. Now, what I want to tell you guys, what scared the shit out of me is, this is the best one that I could use to explain what happens when you're propagating melanochrysum from cuttings or from leaf cuttings. And when you take a leaf cutting, it's going to look like this. Maybe it's going to look perfect. I don't know how your cuttings are going to look, but it's going to be green, it's going to be healthy, and it's going to be perfect. And for a few weeks, when I took these cuttings, it looked absolutely cool. But then what starts to happen is this. This is not a new leaf. This is just an old leaf that is starting to dry up and die off. And I was absolutely shitting myself because I was like thinking, oh shit, this is gonna dry up, it's gonna die, I'm gonna lose all my cuttings, and I cut up my melanochrysum for nothing. So eventually I said, you know what, let me just leave it and see what happens. And what happens is, what I've noticed is that, from my observation and maybe from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below, because as I said, I'm not a horticulturalist, I'm not a botanist, but it's just from my observations and my experiences, is maybe what's happening here is the cuttings is using the energy from these leaves right here. It's pushing and using that energy to push out new root growth, because these leaves only start to yellow when there's a new shoot that's coming up. And as you can see in this cup right here, not sure, you can see that there's new shoots that are coming up. And what's happening is, as the new shoot develops, the old leaf starts to get yellow, and then eventually it will just fall off on its own. Now I'll speak more about that just after what I explain here. Now, what happens is, as it sends out that new shoot, it will eventually brown up, and even this leaf right here, it will eventually start to yellow and it will fall off on its own. Now, what you want to do is, when these leaves are yellowing, do not remove it by yourself, because what will happen is it'll fall off on its own, because it needs to use whatever energy is in this leaf in order to push out that new growth and that new root system. And even what happens is that this part of the leaf will fall off, and sometimes the stem will stay still attached. You don't want to remove that there and break off that stem, because while it's still green, leave it. It will do its thing. It will use up that energy from that stem as well, because remember, the stem also has green on it, so I'm assuming it also has energy in that stem. So it'll use up that energy to push out that new growth, and eventually the stem will also yellow and just fall off. It'll be easy to just tug at it and it'll just come off. But if you're tugging at it like this and it's not coming off, leave it. That's the best advice that I can give you. So don't stress when you see your leaf cutting starting to turn yellow and starting to die off. It's just using that energy to push out that new growth. So I was happy that I just waited it out and noticed that there was new growth in between, because let's see if I can show you guys with this leaf right here. No, let's show you with my first propagation. Let's show you with this here, because it's a darker part and you can probably see it. But what happens is, in this leaf right here, if you take a leaf cutting, what happens is deep down in that leaf right there, you need to look right inside, and then you'll notice maybe a small tiny growth that's coming out from that inside, like where the stem kind of meets the leaf stem, if you get what I'm saying, or where the node meets the stem of the leaf. That's where you'll notice the new growth coming out of. And once you notice that there, then you know that you are 90% home free, I would say. Besides the humidity thing and airing your tank and stuff. I did order a mini fan, but I feel that mini fan is a bit too powerful for air circulation for these smaller tanks. It'll be perfect for maybe a 3-foot or 4-foot tank, but I think it's just a bit too much for these 1.5-foot tanks. But yeah, I'll probably do another video giving you the pros and cons and some more tips and some issues that I've run into with my propagation tanks and some of the propagation methods in another video, because I did do a video on how to build your own propagation tanks, and this is the tanks that I'm using for these Melanos, and they're working absolutely amazing. And I think they cost like maybe under $100 to set this up, so really cheap, really affordable. I'll leave a link in the description for that video as well as the propagation of the melanochrysum cuttings that I've done. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you've taken some information that's useful and you can use it in your own propagations for your Melanos. But yeah, until next time, cheers guys.